Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and new points PogChamp, new points PogChamp. We're not going to get 8 minutes out of this for two reasons. Firstly, there's not too much to talk about, and secondly, I don't know if you can hear, but baby really wants to go outside. Like, why are you paying attention to people online instead of me? Calm down, Vriska. We've got cardboard to talk about. So, at the end of the Blazing Dominion release video, Jerome made a comment like, we're going to update the Genesys points on the 30th, which is great. This is going to impact a major event because YCS Columbus is coming up later this month, or I guess later next month, depending on when this actual video gets uploaded. And it will probably abide this list. I don't think there's going to be another list in the interim, which, to be clear, is fine. I think Genesys is in a really good place. I don't think there's too much that needs to be hit. I would probably say I'd prefer to have some of the like turn-ending floodgates shaved off. Di-Fi obviously is the big one. And maybe there could be some adjustment on the free fairy hand traps, the Heralds of Orange Light and Heralds of Green Light, that are kind of the reason to play a couple of specific decks. But realistically, I don't really care too much about any of that. I think the format is in a really great place, and there's a lot of powerful decks, as evidenced by the stuff that's been doing well in the celebration events. What's more, Blazing Dominion has the potential to cause a huge impact on the format, not only because of the release of the new Kewl Tune stuff, which we'll get to in a second, but also the release of the PREDAP stuff, which I think is cool in Genesys, the GMX stuff, which I think is cool in Genesys, and even the RDA stuff, which I think is already a pretty good Genesys deck. Let me know which of those you'd like me to do for the 100-point playtesting this week, because I do want to do like a deck that's been impacted by the release of BLZD. Without further ado, let's look at the update proper. So first and foremost, the thing we need to focus on is the KT changes. Kewl Tune Rotary to 40, back-to-back to 40, and Crackle to 70. Love these hits. Really, really, really good hits. So Kewl Tune is already a really good deck in Genesys. It doesn't have the next wave of support, and it's still extremely strong. That's for a couple of reasons. Obviously, any new archetype is going to, just by virtue of coming out later, be really good compared to a lot of the older ones. But there's a couple fairies in the archetype, which means that it's super easy to slap in the 3 Herald of Orange Light, 3 Herald of Green Light that have become very common in decks that are even splashing a couple fairies as part of their main deck lineup, right? So for that reason, these cards that are coming out in Blazing Dominion basically need to be unplayable. And I'm happy to report 40, 40, and 70 functionally makes them unplayable. So 40 and 40 means that maybe if they stretch it and just don't play any of the hand traps that are already pretty good in Kewl Tune, and a reason why the deck is as powerful as it is, you can negate a mix and they can still sink away with a Mourner in hand. Even without those, you could maybe fit in like a Rotary or a back-to-back in a deck that doesn't really need OTK potential because it has such an incredible grind. The biggest thing I'm happy about is Crackle. Crackle's kind of a shitty card. It's at 70 for two reasons. Firstly, Genesys is specifically positioned to be weak to the banishing from the extra deck stuff. Like a significant amount of decks have pointed extra deck cards that just can't devote points to a second copy because it fucks up the main deck math, and they're not going to do it just to play around Unicorn and Crackle, right? And so as a result, they have been pretty harsh on cards that rip from the extra deck, including Clip, which randomly rips from the extra deck. This, of course, is a specific targeted hit, which is different. But the other thing about Crackle that's a little frustrating is even if it was a vanilla, it would massively improve the deck just because now Synchro Overtake can get Clip, right? Like, it can search it to hand and give you plays for your opponent's turn. It also massively improves the pool of things Clip can synchro with profitably. Previously, it was like a 2, and the only other 2 was Mix. But now you can synchro with Q, because you have a 5 that you can theoretically make. I do like hitting this card a lot. I would prefer for it to not be in the metagame, and it looks like it's not going to. Let's move on to the Clown Crew stuff. Here's where I think they missed a little bit. The Clown Crew stuff doesn't seem to me to be super powerful. Like, I think these cards are okay, and I think Genesys is a place where they could have a home. But there's a couple of things that are going to prevent it. The first is that Hat is a pendulum. Obviously, they're not able to play Pendulum or the Pendulum Hat or the Link Drish, which matters a great deal. The second is that I really don't think these cards need really any points at release, but I understand they're trying to avoid a position where like the thing that's playable in the new format is the B tier archetype from the newest set. Like just because of the way power creep works, that's going to happen a lot and that's going to frustrate people. So I get it, you know. That said, I think these are going to come down. Like God, I hope they come down, right? I'd like to see people experimenting with it. Let's talk about RDA. So we haven't done an RDA video yet on 100-point playtesting, and largely that's because I was waiting for this. I think RDA is a really, really, really good deck in Genesys. It has incredible build-a-board potential. It has a lot of 1- and 2-card combos that get you there. It's only synchros. It's got new support. As recently as a couple of months ago, I really think it's well-positioned, and there's a couple of people who come to our locals consistently that bring the strategy and do pretty well with it. Like, I like it a great deal. The 2 new cards that this deck got, the Crimson King and Power Vice Dragon, are really good. They are game warpingly, strong for the strategy. They totally change how you build the end board, and I think are going to definitely bring this deck into, if not tiered contention, a discussion of like if you are going to play RDA when you go to a Genesys event. If you are a Jack Atlas fan, it's time to dip your toes into Genesys. I think this card and this deck is perfect for the format. I like it a lot. These are very, very competitive point totals for the strategy, which does have a lot of cards that are pointed, but not so many that you won't be able to find room for these. New Artmage, I think is necessary. It's just really hard to talk about the Artmage cards just because the main deck now demands like 50 or 60 points, which is just ridiculous. Imposter Recapture will probably not be considered. I'll be honest. I don't think that it is going to find space in a deck that is already hurting for points. To that note, Elfnote Regina at 40 is unbelievable. Like that, I think they are correct that the Elfnotes are playable enough that it's probably not worth including them in Genesys beyond their current point total. And to be clear, they are good in Genesys already. Like this archetype is very playable in Genesys. It has seen some success. You will see it with or without Regina. 40 is a lot. I could see people trying it. That said, I could see people trying it. People paid a significant amount of money for a couple of copies of the Fire King that, when popped, gets Garunix from deck. I could see people devoting 40 to this. Depending on how your combo works out, you really only need the one because you can search it and then, like, deploy it on your opponent's turn. But 40 is a fucking ton. New Doomsy card. Dooms is about to be an extremely powerful deck in the TCG, but a lot of that has to do with a power patron that is a pendulum that we don't have. Regardless, they have decided that Graflario is going to be a 20-point card, which makes sense. Dooms has like no main deck points, which is good. I like that archetype. I think it's cool in Genesys. The big problem is that it's so easy to board against. This card doesn't resolve that, but does give the deck a little bit of game against like targeted negation that I think they will do what they can to find space for exactly one copy of this card. You okay? Are you all right? She's really going crazy over there. I'm going to wrap this up. Officiator of Doom Samael is 10. This is a hit to the Pumpkin deck. I think this is 10 points that the Pumpkin deck will be super happy to play. I'm actually just like building the Pumpkin deck in Genesys specifically because this card exists. This is the difference between the deck being good and the deck being bad, I think, in Genesys. Will it find purchase in the Goblin shell that we uploaded? Maybe. I think more likely it's going to just be the Pumpkin shell with like other zombie shit. And that's good. That's like a really, really strong thing to be doing. Exceptional Schedule is a hit to Peeps specifically. This card is really frustrating. It's a super good card, but I do think that Earth Machine is in kind of a weird place in Genesys, just because the builds that we are used to are so reliant on looping the Infinitrack Link 1 and Anger Knuckle. And so like what an Earth Machine deck can do in a non-Link world is still pretty unexplored. Again, I would go to Peeps and ask him to test decks that include this card. I am not familiar with what they would look like, to be completely honest with you. Like, like setting up some rank 5s. Is that good? I really don't think so. And the Infinitrax so need the Link monster in order to consistently get them into the graveyard that you'd probably just have to look to other archetypes entirely. Phydralis, oh my god, I'm not going to say it. Phydraulis, Harmonia. This card is probably not going to see play in Genesys, and with good reason. This card is way too good to see play in Genesys. Keep it to the TCG, buddy, and don't worry if you are afraid after opening a Harmonia it won't see any play in Genesys. You'll get some purchase with it in the TCG. Dominus Spark at 10 I think is cool. I like that the lesser played Dominuses are considerations in this format. Dominus Spark locks you out of everything but lights and darks, and it's fine. I think this card is all right. I'd like to see it see play. I'd like to see Spiral see play. Why is no one experimenting with that card? So whatever. And then Solemn Accusation for 12, I think is a great place to put it. I don't think this card will see play at 12, just because it's such a prohibitively expensive card to basically just be a card that wins you the game going first if you draw it. There's already so many of those that are free. There are so many that are pointed so much more aggressively. Iron Thunder comes to mind. 12 is far too expensive for an effect like this, which is good. I don't want this effect to be available. Wow, we got 8 minutes out of it regardless. They talk a little bit about the justification for these, but they're exactly what you'd imagine. Rotary, Crackle, and Regina are unbelievable starters and extenders for their associated decks, and then Harmonia is fucking insane and cannot be allowed to propagate in this format at all, especially in a world where your extra deck isn't filled with a sinful glut of Link monsters. I will say I'm really happy with these changes. I don't think much had to happen to Genesys for it to continue to be played, and for those of you that were like waiting for the drop associated with BLZD to be able to play Genesys and go to YCS Columbus feeling good, here's your sign to get testing. I think that this RDA deck is a great place to start. I'm definitely going to put together a PREDAP list for you all to see. If there's anything else you would like me to explore, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Now I got to go take Vriska to get a burrito.